But anyway, all is good. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. You're the first author that I've spoken to,
Okay.
um, at least in an official capacity. And when I got the press release for the book, I was instantly intrigued because I, well, I mean, I'm a fan of many genres, and definitely also um, the hybrid of rock and rap
Yeah.
and new metal and old school hip hop and all of those things.
Cool.
And so I was like, yeah, I'd like to jump on that. And looking into your background and seeing what all that you have done and all the books that you've written and everything else, I was like, yeah, that sounds like a really good brain I'd like to pick. So
Well, we'll pick away.
yeah, first of all, I like your background.
Yep.
What do you have up on the walls there? What's the record there?
I have gold records
Hmm.
here, here, and here, which are Soundgarden, Faith No More, and Tool.
Fantastic.
Yep. Yep.
Those are very good artists to have up on the wall.
Yeah. And then I made a film called American Hardcore, which played at Sundance and it's on Netflix and came out on Sony Picture Classics. So that was quite a ride.
Hmm.
Um, I used to run a magazine called Seconds when I found the banner. So there's that. Um, this is I did a in-store in Boston for my book Lost Rockers.
Hmm.
I did a art show for my book New York Rock. Um, and there's my Wobegon New York Jets, which is just really pathetic. But it's gone from like negative to miserable. So, but I still fly the flag, so to speak.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. You love your teams.
Mhm. I root for New York for sure.
So I had seen that you had no real journalism background. You just kind of started writing. Uh,
Yeah, I in fact was talking with my wife and daughter about it last night. Failing high school English. Um, it's quite an accomplishment, actually. It's kind of hard to do. But I would love to find that teacher now, who propelled me. Well, so I finished high school. Sure, I didn't know how to write. I went to college thinking I didn't know how to write, and then I started writing for the alternative newspaper because I was ran the radio station at my college, and I the college radio station, and then I became a kid promoter of the DC hardcore punk rock shows. So anyway, so I started writing for the alternative newspaper, and I found that I was getting really good feedback, and people were really enjoying it and laughing. And so after college, I moved to New York, and it's a lot of fashion magazines, like underground fashion magazines, uh, and above fashion, famous ones too.
mhm.
But there was a whole scene of um, Andy Warhol's magazine Interview was probably the biggest of them, which I wrote for as well. But there was Paper Magazine and Details Magazine, and these defunct publications that were kind of punk rock in their spirit. They came out of the New York clubs, and there's a lot of attitude. I was a DJ in the New York clubs, so I got a lot of entree into that world. I became an editor and then a writer. First interview I ever did was Harley Flanagan of the Cro-Mags, because that was just tapping into my punk rock past. And just kind of went from there. Interviewed Public Enemy, interviewed the Beastie Boys, interviewed, uh, I don't know, just it just kind of went from there.
Right.
Anthrax, you know. So my loves of heavy metal and punk rock and hip hop were going on back in the 80s. So I went from a I went from a writer to an editor to a publisher of the Seconds magazine,
Mm-hmm.
which we did 50 issues of, and we were kind of we broke a lot of bands. Like all these gold records go back to that era. So Soundgarden were people, they would crash on my couch, right? So and I knew the all the original Sub Pop bands because they kind of filter back to punk rock. And I booked Faith No More's first tour when they were living out of a truck, basically, like a like a rental truck, like you pull up the back
Yeah.
of the truck
Mm-hmm.
and be like, so these guys would go into the back of the truck and be like, see you in 300 miles, you know. So that was my and then I wrote the American Hardcore book. Then I made the American Hardcore film. So all of a sudden I was an established author filmmaker. And since then I've done 8 other books: American Hair Metal, New York Rock, Lost Rockers, Bustin' Balls, and this trilogy that I just recently finished, which was started with When Rock Met Disco.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really talking about the crossovers. I'm not really talking about Do the Hustle or the Bee Gees.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the rock crossover, Rolling Stones, Miss You,
Mm-hmm.
Kiss, I Was Made for Loving You, uh, Do You Think I'm Sexy by Rod Stewart,
Mm-hmm.
Queen, Blondie. And these were touring bands. These were like hard rockin' bands. So they really brought something to the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I did When Rock Met Disco, and then I did When Rock Met Reggae, which is, I'm not really telling the story of, I do tell the story of Jamaican music, but it's really the story of when that Jamaican music gets filtered through the punk rock bands like The Clash and The Police and Blondie and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that led to When Rock Met Hip Hop, which was really something that I had lived, being in New York at the right place at the right time. Um, so that's the story of Blondie, Rapture, um, Run DMC, Rock Box, and King of Rock. Then the uh, groundbreaking combination of Run DMC and Aerosmith,
Mm-hmm.
and then the the groundbreaking crossover of Anthrax and Public Enemy, and then the West Coast thing with rock rap, which was Red Hot Chili Peppers, Faith No More, House of Pain, Rage Against the Machine, Cypress Hill, and then the Judgment Night soundtrack is all part of that. 1994 is Korn,
Mm-hmm.
and then the whole thing with Limp Bizkit and System of a Down and Linkin Park, and that exciting thing too.
Mm-hmm.
So I that's the story of When Rock Met Hip Hop.
And it's a fascinating story. Um, so being in New York at that time, uh, So is the book about your experience as well as just the general of what was happening, or is it more just this is what was happening?
Well, it can't help but to give some of my 2 cents of what I did, but I tried to keep it as static as possible, and me just being a storyteller. But there's plenty of my story in there for sure. I would say, a lot of those interviews are my interviews, things that I had, all those bands who I mentioned, I've interviewed,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere along the way. So, and I like that the book kind of ends with new metal because that's a lot of people rag on it. They bag on it as this kind of immature kind of thing, but I don't know. I think the break dancing and the guitars and the DJs scratching, and I mean it's pretty developed. And you talk to Dr. Dre, who tours with uh, Limp Bizkit, or Exhibit, who's done plenty of stuff with System of a Down and all those groups.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think they consider it valid. I consider it valid, so it's
Sure.
valid.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I stand up for that too, which I'm kind of proud of. I don't want to be this like person who's like, oh, you don't know how good the music was when I was younger.
Yeah, I think the legacy speaks for itself because many of the bigger bands of new metal are some of the biggest bands in the world right now.
Mhm.
And
They've sold the most records.
for
I,
sure.
I mean, Linkin Park has sold 60 million records,
Hmm.
40 million records, some number like that. And uh, that's more than Led Zeppelin,
And in a
so
time when downloading was becoming a thing.
right, right. Yeah, so it's totally valid, totally legit, and totally uh true to hip hop, true to rock, true to punk rock, you know. So I don't see any problem at all. And I'm proud to be one of these established writers given props to a genre that gets bagged on a lot.
Hmm.
And I think I think even from writing the book, I gained even more respect for all these bands. I think I mean, System of a Down is uneasy listening,
Yeah.
but it's definitely brilliant music, you know. Korn really started a lot. I mean, they really, white B-boys from Bakersfield. I mean, they come from nothing. I remember because they used to be the opening band for Faith No More, who I was tight with.
Hmm.
And so I saw them, a half dozen times in the late 90s and early 00s. Uh, got to know Jonathan Davis, uh, Deftones. I didn't write about the Deftones. I'm not really sure why. That's kind of a hole in the book, I would guess, because they're a really important band
Hmm.
where it comes to this. But that's not the only real. That's the only really important band I think I've forgotten the whole book, to be honest with you. But these things happen.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yep.
Um, what were your thoughts on Corn when you first saw them and heard them?
It was also uneasy listening. It was really kind of hard to grasp. It was really hard for it took me about 3 or 4 shows till I kind of got it,
Hmm.
honestly. Because there was and I'd be watching from the stage, right? Because I was friends with the headliners. But it's demanding music, and these are white B-boys. That's really what they are. I was looking at them completely from a rock perspective, and I don't think that's correct.
Mhm.
I think that's, they're uh much more developed than that. So I came to really love them. I really did. I think they're a really great band. I mean, I have a lot of friends my age who, just, bagged on me for liking these bands, but I'm like, I stand by it. I think they're really good. I saw Limp Bizkit. I thought they were really good. I thought I didn't think it was stupid, or whatever people say about some of these bands.
Yeah.
I thought I mean, they're connected, they have DJ Lethal from House of Pain. I mean, that guy's a genius.
Yeah.
Because I was big into House of Pain. I was very tight with House of Pain and all that they did. But I mean, wow. I mean, Lethal tears it up with those guys.
He's the secret
Really?
ingredient in Limp Bizkit for
Yeah,
sure.
he really is. Yeah, yeah.
And he came from
Incredible.
a credible background. It's not like he was just some unknown DJ. He had already had something established, so
Exactly.
brought a little credibility into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I think he's really important for sure. And I think all these bands who I mentioned are really important. They uh, they they fly the flag from the days of the Beastie Boys,
mhm.
right? It starts with them rapping to AC/DC, that kind of stuff. And that's kind of what new metal is, so it's, it's pretty obvious to me that that it's not like a 10-year timeline. It's like a 20 or 30-year timeline.
Mhm. I agree. Everything just
Yeah.
kind of slowly picked up pieces along the way, and then, like I said, with Corn and then Limp Bizkit,
Yep.
and by the time Linkin Park came, it was like all of the pieces aligned, and
Yep.
nothing was ever really the same after that. Um, what got you into hip hop?
Um, I think it was just time and place. I think it was just being in New York at this time. And the bands all, at least the bands I was interested, there was like a lineage of bands that rock the house. A lot of the hip hop, if you remember, were like guys in suits and fine clothing,
Yeah.
and then there was like, Run DMC in leather jackets, or Public Enemy trying to be the Clash of hip hop,
Hmm.
with this intense political edge. Um, so uh, I gravitated toward these bands. Onyx did their thing with Biohazard, and they were connected to Run DMC, and so there's this whole world of uh, hip hop that I grew up with in New York, and of course they were all Scratch and Billy Squire records, right? So, I have a whole chapter on Billy Squire in this book, and people, I think it takes people have to read it to really understand it, but I think he's been sampled 330 times.
Hmm.
I mean, that's unreal.
Who knew?
That's Yeah. And back in the day, I mean, he was definitely not like a great rock star. I mean, he was huge, but he was also kind of fair to middling,
Yeah.
I would say. But the big beat and that with a DJ scratch reinvented hip hop, breathed breathed new life into hip hop.
Hmm. So, uh, the Judgment Night soundtrack, when that came out, obviously there wasn't anything like that other than just the couple of collaborations that had happened over the years. But when that came out, um, 'cause I didn't even know about that soundtrack until, I mean, I was 6 when it came out, so I didn't know about that soundtrack till way later, like maybe my late teens. Well, after I'd already been into new metal and hip hop and everything
Right,
else, and I was like, oh wow,
right.
this is a thing. And what do you think the impact it had on, like, what do you think it influenced?
Yeah, I think it really changed the direction of music forever, really. Um, House of Pain and Helmet, uh, Cypress Hill and Pearl Jam, uh, on and on. The whole record, all 13 tracks. I do a chapter in the book on Judgment Night.
Hmm.
That's how important I feel it is. Um, Cypress Hill, House of Pain, those were the great bands of the early 90s.
Hmm.
They redefined hip hop, and they were playing Lollapalooza and all that kind of stuff. So the the Judgment Night soundtrack forever changed music. It gave birth to new metal, and it set it off. I mean, that record's 1993. Korn starts in 1994. You could point an arrow right to today.
Hmm. I've,
So
I've
very important record.
I've always felt like that album, as time has gone on, I feel like, especially with my generation, it kind of went unnoticed in a lot of ways with younger kids, and not realizing that it had such an impact. Because again,
Mhm.
it's something that I've gone back on over the years and look at it like, man, there wasn't this wasn't a thing yet when this came out. Now, like, when you look at it, if you look at it like it came out in 1997, it's like, oh yeah, I could see that, but
Mhm.
that wasn't a thing yet.
Right.
So to
Yeah,
see,
it was really ahead of the curve. And the great mu usually the people who make it most famous didn't do it first,
right?
right? So like Nirvana didn't do it first.
No.
There was a whole generation of sub pop bands before that. Seattle had a good half dozen years of Soundgarden and Mudhoney and Green River, which became Pearl Jam.
Hmm.
Uh, so being the first is kind of being truly the first
Yeah,
is a curse.
I agree.
And you'll find that for any kind of music. Like somebody who you thought was the first person to do it, they're usually giving props to somebody else from 10 years before.
Hmm.
And I think that's the cycle of music. I think music is a giving cycle. Like people, uh, it's all about, you always hear about, oh, this band ripped off that band, but that's not really what happened. They hear a sound and then they put their own twist on it,
Hmm.
and then they present it to you. And then if somebody asks them about it, they'll talk about the band before that who influenced them.
Hmm.
So, and that's the cycle, and
Yeah.
that's how it always goes. Music is not racist. Music is cross-cultural. Uh, Music is wonderful, and that's why I'm a music writer.
So, what made you start your own magazine?
I wanted to put it out in my own words. I wanted to control the narrative. I thought most magazines sucked. Um, and I liked what I liked, which was the emerging rock and rap. And I also was, they were also very singular in their coverage. They were heavy metal magazines or they were rap magazines. And I wanted to do something where I crossed over everything.
Hmm.
First issue of Seconds was Beastie Boys, Metallica, Beastie Boys, Metallica, and Butthole Surfers, right? So,
That's a good mix.
yeah. And I've always been about the mix. And that too was a little too ahead of the curve, So, I mean, I didn't lose my shirt on it, but it was always a struggle. And I gave up when uh, I stopped in the late not in 19 I mean sorry in 2001 where it was everything was going digital
Hmm.
and I didn't really have a vision on where to go with it.
Right.
So I
And
just quit while I was ahead.
social media
And
wasn't a thing yet, so it wasn't
right.
clear cut
But
on
right,
how
but
artists were
magazine
going to get.
sales were going down and I couldn't really tell. I mean, I was covering corn and that kind of stuff, but I didn't really have a feel like I had a handle on where music was going.
Hmm.
I don't think it went very far. I think it just kind of settled in,
Yeah.
and that's okay. That's okay. But in 2001 is when I wrote the American Hardcore book. So that was the next chapter of my life.
Yeah. Was American Hardcore your first book?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
my first book. Came out in the second edition 10 years later and is coming out at the end as a 25th anniversary third edition.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, and that'll probably be the last time I write about it. But that was my life. So everything, everything I do, no matter what, it always leads me back to punk, leads me back to hardcore. Hardcore being a little different than punk, uh, hardcore being American, suburban, violent, slam dancing, stage diving, music based on speed and adrenaline, no guitar solos, you know, just
Energy.
get on with it. Just get on with it,
Hmm.
right? So that's still how I feel about stuff. My daughter's a pretty good heavy metal musician at 14. She's very good. And I, we always have this discussion like that. She's learned like me to hate ballads. But I was talking to her about like, I like music without melody. And she's like, "How do you listen? What do you mean? Like what?" But I just like more stripped down the better, you know. No guitar, no verse chorus, nothing.
Hmm.
Just, like Black Flag did or something like that. So those were the bands of my youth, and I like the bands today that follow in those tracks, which there's many. So yeah, but this all led me back to the mix of musics that it was always to me about the mix, right? The Rick Rubin, who I knew a little bit back then, uh, had obviously I would say we had similar visions, but obviously his was much larger.
Right.
And he was a producer. You know, I was a writer, which is a very different thing. But we would talk about this stuff, and you know, I could see that that was the future of music, was was bringing it all together.
Hmm.
He produced at the same time he produced Beastie Boys' License to Ill and Slayer Rain and Blood. Same studio, different rooms. You know, he produced Danzig. He produced, you know, he was producing metal and hip hop. So, and he came from a punk background. So I in New York, this thing was always kind of happening.
Right.
And when rock met hip hop brings it to the world.
So, what do you think the biggest correlation is between? Uh, I'm going to put it all under one umbrella with punk and rock and metal. What do you think the biggest correlation is between rock music and rap music? At least early on.
What do they have in common?
Yeah.
They rock and hip hop are music's based on adrenaline. They're for the alienated kids. They're for the kids who uh, don't really follow the mainstream. Uh, the there's a tinge of violence, a tinge of danger. Uh, it's loud, it's intense, and it's unforgiving. So that's what they all share.
What do you think of where hip hop has developed into in modern times?
Um, well, if you asked me like 5 years ago, I would say it hit a wall. But then I see all these new kids coming out, you know, I guess kind of influenced by Eminem, but there's, you know, there these all the kids with all the tattooed faces and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, so I kind of like that stuff. You know, my friend's son is like 17 and I was just sitting around listening to those records and I thought they were great. You know, I was so watching videos and it reminded me of punk rock. So hip hop's I I think everybody thought hip hop was a fad,
Right.
but 25 years later or 40 years later, you can't call, you know, it just constantly reinvents itself.
Yeah.
There's something about the MC, there's something about the DJ, you know, and I think the combination of that being black and white, rock and rap, all the blends. You know, music is not black or white, it's gray or brown. And that's that's the beauty of it.
Hmm. Firmly agree.
Mhm.
The name of my magazine is AudioVein,
Yep, I
and
can do that.
the reason for that, um, music in the blood, and
Yep.
it's not metal in the blood or rock in the blood. It's music in the blood because there's no reason to ever limit yourself to one style. I mean, people are gonna like what they like and whatever, but like when you specifically, well, I can't listen to that because it's not metal enough or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like that's stupid. Just,
Yeah.
you know, music is for everyone, and it's important to understand different genres, even if you're not into it. You know, like it's still, it doesn't hurt to at least try.
Yeah.
And
Sounds like we're speaking a similar language.
for sure,
Yeah.
that's what intrigued me with wanting to talk to you, because I
Yeah.
felt like, well, he's someone that gets it, and not just that you appreciate music, but you appreciate music so much that you made it your career, and
Yeah.
you write books about it, and you write about the history of music, and that's wonderful. That's what it should be about. So,
Yeah.
Stephen, I want to thank you for your time.
Oh, it was really been a pleasure, Marcus, for sure.
I greatly appreciate what you've done, what you brought to the table, and where you're still going. And I look forward to many more books and whatever else that you decide to come up with. Maybe we'll have a rock meets rap movie,
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about that right now. So, um, but yeah, so thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Good talking to you, Stephen.
All
Um,
right.
I will hopefully talk to you again one day.
Okay. I would like that.
Awesome.
So next time in Topeka, I'll make sure to hook up with you.
Next time I'm in New York, how about that?
Okay.
I
That
appreciate
might
it.
be better, more easy. Yes. Okay. All the best, Marcus. Take care.
Thank you, man.
Maximum respect.